Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is the Wandering Creative Life, and I am Arden Coots. If this is your first time here, my channel is all about increasing your creativity and finding those things that enhance your creativity, I guess, or make you feel creative. So that can be trying new hobbies, maybe it's new music. Um, it can really be anything. Yeah, thanks for being here. Today, I want to talk about a book convention. Um, I am an author. I write. I write queer romantic suspense, and was lucky enough to go to my very first book convention earlier in I was gonna say earlier in the month, but it's July now, and the convention was the end of June. So I guess later in June, but earlier in July. And it was my first book convention ever. So I was super nervous. And it was LavenderCon in DC, and it was put on by Little District Books, um, which is a queer owned, queer everything. They feature queer artists or queer writers, and books with queer characters. And it's located in DC. And they put on the convention, and it was their first time doing a convention as well, which was amazing because, from my perspective, it went fairly smoothly. As an author, um, like attending author that was signing and was on a panel, it went pretty well. I think there were probably some small things that could have changed or been done differently, but in comparison to some of the bigger conventions that are new that you hear about that are just like absolute shit shows, this was quite pleasant. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Had a good time. Um, so it was held in Washington D.C. the end of June, June 29th and 30th, at the National Press Club in kind of downtown DC, um, on the 13th floor. It was an interesting venue. I will say the venue was not what I was expecting. I was expecting, I guess, like when you go to a con and it's just like a giant ass like stadium of tables and people and things like that. That's kind of what I was expecting, I think. Um, but I've never been to a book convention, so I don't know if this is how they normally look. Um, but the convention was on the 13th floor, and it consisted of, I think, five different rooms. There was one big room for the authors, and then a slightly smaller room for vendors, and then I think three conference rooms for presentations for panels. I think that's how it was organized. Um, and then there was one room where we like kept all of our stuff, so we didn't have to like haul our books back to our hotels and back to the conference center every day. So that was quite nice. Um, I was super stoked to get into this one, mainly because it was in DC and I have friends there from when I used to work in DC. So I was able to go, and I stayed with my friend Tara. And it was really good to see her. And I got to hang out with a couple of my friends that I haven't seen in like a year, I think. It's been probably about a year. So I got to go and hang out with them. That was like not the highlight of my time, but it was really wonderful. Like it kind of reminded me of good friends and what it's like to be around good friends. And I also love historic Alexandria, and I got to spend some time there on King Street, which I don't know is one of my favorite places to be. I love King Street, and we went to La Fromagerie, which is a wine shop that I adore. So like socially, it was top notch. Outside of the conference, I had a couple awkward social interactions during the conference, but I mean, I wouldn't be me if that weren't the case. Um, but let's see, day one, I was signing in the morning, and I would say there were probably about like, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 authors signing in the morning, and we had each of us had like half a table to use. So we it was like an 8 foot table, and each person got like a 4 foot section. But not all the tables were used, and not all the tables had two people. But I think there were probably about 20 to 30 people, probably closer to 30, maybe. I don't know. I'm really terrible at estimating people. It turns out. We'll just say 30 authors signing in the morning. And while we were signing, there were panels going on. And then there's kind of like a switch. So the authors that were signing in the morning, some of them had panels in the afternoon. And the authors that were on panels in the morning had signing in the afternoon. So it kind of gave everyone a chance to like do a switcheroo, and which was nice because you got to go and like meet other authors and see what was up and go to some panels, which was totally my intention for day one. When I got done signing, I was going to go to some panels, but turns out I just talked with other people the entire time and missed all the panels I wanted to go to. So that was my bad. Um, so day one was just a lot of socializing. I was exhausted mentally and physically. Like I felt like I'd like run a marathon. I was like my legs hurt, my back, like my body hurt for no reason. I literally just sat the entire time, which is not unusual for me. I mean, I work at a desk, so I'm used to sitting, but like my body was just like physically just sore from the day. Um, but it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful getting to meet readers, getting to meet other authors. I think that was probably in the top two or three things about the conference, was just being able to meet other authors. It was fantastic. And I met some really cool people that I'm excited to stay in touch with and learn from, because I feel like a lot of the people there have a lot of knowledge to share, um, and are farther in their writing careers than I am. So it's a great opportunity to like get to know these folks and like learn from them and learn from their mistakes, and kind of pick their brains a little bit. But there were also just like great people, um, just like wonderful personalities. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to like getting to know everyone a little bit better that I connected with. Um, and I really loved meeting readers, whether they were there for my book or not. It was fun to like kind of pitch myself to readers and try to convince them to read my book. So that was an interesting experience. I'm sure my table mates got tired of hearing me say the same spiel like over and over and over again, but that's what you have to do. You have to like entice people to come over and check out your book, and try to get them to read it. And I made a couple sales, which was great. I didn't make. I think I went into it thinking there were going to be like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people kind of rolling through this conference, and there weren't that many people. So in my mind, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm only taking 60 books of each title. Is that going to be enough? Should I have brought like hundreds of books? Am I not going to have enough for the crowd?" And it turns out I brought way too many books. I could have taken maybe 10 or 15 of each book and been absolutely fine. Um, so, that being said, they did do a pre sale at the bookstore, and both books did sell out. So, I know my book is out there with people. it, I assume. Um, and a couple folks, like I said, did come by and pick it up. I think I probably sold maybe maybe 8 to 10 copies of book one, and book one is Fall into Midnight, and maybe 5 copies of book two, which is Fall into Me. So that was pretty good. I handed out a lot of my freebie, which is the prequel to the Fall trilogy, and I was really happy about that. Handed out a lot of swag. Got a lot of compliments on my table layout, especially from other authors. So that was really nice. I went with a disco ball club theme. Had a lot of sparkly things. Had disco ball keychains that people could buy, or not buy, but take. A lot of artwork, and yeah, it went really well. Coffee break, but yeah, day one was great. Day two, I was super nervous because I was on a panel called "Keeping Romance Thrilling," and this was going to be my first panel of this kind. Like, I have done book readings before, and then I had just done a Pride panel like the week before, maybe 2 weeks before, which thankfully helped prepare me for this one. Um, and there were supposed to be 3 authors on the panel and a moderator. And I will say this is an area that LavenderCon could have done a little better. Was the moderators. I didn't even know if my panel was going to have a moderator until she showed up, like 5 minutes before the panel started. So I think finding moderators and getting the moderator in touch with their panelists ahead of time would have eased a lot of people's nerves, because a lot of authors I talked to, they didn't know whether or not their session was going to be moderated. They didn't know what the questions were going to be about, um, and that kind of like made them a little nervous, which I had a ton of anxiety about that. Like, I could barely eat the morning of. I was nauseous the whole way there, um, and was just like not freaking out, but I was super nervous about it. And then it turns out I was the only author on the panel. The other 2 individuals, I think one person maybe didn't come to the conference at all, and then the other person unfortunately had the wrong time, and so it ended up just being me. So it was like a one-on-one session, um, which was kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie, I actually enjoyed it. And once we got like started, um, kind of all of my nerves went away. My friend Tara was there. She was nice enough to come for the day and like come to the panel with me. So she was in the crowd, and so anytime I was like kind of feeling a little nervous, I could look at her and kind of like center myself a little. Um, so that was really nice. I really enjoyed it. Lots of great questions. The moderator, fucking fantastic, like so fantastic. Which turns out she was not only like a writer and there as like an assistant for somebody, but like also used to be a journalist. So she had wonderful questions and was like super composed, and like it was more of like a conversation than being like interviewed, which I think made it a little bit more fun. And I was able to crack some jokes. I got some laughs out of the crowd. And I think there were probably like 15 to 20 people in the crowd, but again, I don't know. I'm terrible at estimating people. Tara said 15 to 20, so I'm going to rely on her numbers and say 15 to 20. Because if it were up to me, I would have said like 5 to 10. But that went really well. And then I had a signing session in the afternoon, and I picked a new table because we didn't have like assigned tables. So I picked a new table. And the individual Terry that I sat next to was super nice, great table buddy. And I sat across from Will, who is an author as well, and we had a good time just like chatting back and forth between people, because you'd find that like when panels were going on, the crowd would kind of disappear, And then when panels ended, the crowd would surge in and people would buy books and then they'd leave again. And so in those times where it was like a little chiller, I would just Will and I would just like chat back and forth from our tables. But yeah, it was a really good time. I had a wonderful time. And it got me super excited for other events that I have coming up and bigger book conventions. Like I'm going to Pack in the Readers in Green Bay, Wisconsin next summer, which is going to be a huge one, I think. And it's going to have its own set of like logistical things to figure out. Like, I think I'm going to have to ship books or fly with books or figure that out in order to get to Wisconsin. I've applied for a lot of other conventions. I don't know if I'll get into them or not, but who knows? Maybe. It's kind of exciting. I have a book signing and author chat coming up in a couple weeks, July 26th in Columbia, South Carolina at Queer Haven Books, which I think is the only queer bookstore in South Carolina. I'm fairly certain about that, which is kind of is cool, but also sad. But it's South Carolina, so not surprised. What else I got going on? I'm doing a couple virtual book conventions. I'm hoping to be able to pitch my book to a couple of publishers. Yeah, I'm just grinding, trying to get my book 3 done and written. Book 3 is in editing, so when I get that back, I'll start making changes to it. And I'm working on a new poetry book and Echoes of Us as well. So lots of things going on, and it's kind of exciting. But if you want to check out my books, please, they're on Amazon. Fall Into Midnight, Fall Into Me, and Before We Fall, all on Amazon. Also on my website, which is where you should definitely go, which is ardencouts.com. That's ARDENCOUTTS.com. You can get all my books there. My poetry book, you can do a book bundle. You get signed copies plus swag and artwork, which kind of, in my opinion, makes it even better. And I'll let you in on a secret. I just got the cover back for book 3, and it makes my cold, dark heart squee in excitement. It makes me so happy. I cannot wait for people to see it. Book 3, We All Fall, might be my favorite one, which I think I say every time I publish a book, but James and Luke are my babies. So I can't wait for folks to read that one. But I'll include links to Little District Books, and I'll put my website down there as well. And definitely check it out. And let me know if you've been to Little District Books, if you were at LavenderCon, and if you picked up one of my books. Be sure to leave a review, because those count a lot. If you want to help an author out, no matter how big or small they are, please leave a review. Makes a huge difference. Yeah, so that's it for me today. Hopefully I'll have another video out for you in a week, maybe 2, about how I deal with writer's block and share some steps on how to get out of that situation. I'm also working on a creativity and wellness retreat. So I think I'm going to bring you guys along for that journey as well, as I kind of fumble my way through organizing that. That's going to be an adventure all of its own, but more to come on that later. So thank you for joining me today. Be sure to like and subscribe. And again, if you have read one of my books or if you pick one up and you read it, please leave a review. I thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.